So, when I say risk management, what's the first thing that pops into your head? Is it, boring compliance checklists, insurance policies? Well, what if I told you it's actually one of the most powerful strategic tools your business can have? Okay, let's dive into this, because a solid enterprise risk management blueprint, or ERM, can literally turn all that uncertainty from a threat into your biggest advantage.
So to get us thinking, I'm going to ask you a pretty direct question. Just take a second and think about your own company, your projects, even your own career. What's the one thing that carries a huge amount of risk, but you almost definitely don't have an insurance policy for it?
The answer, and this might hit home, is very often your reputation. I mean, think about it. It's your most valuable asset, and at the exact same time, your biggest uninsured liability. You spend years building it up, and it can all come crashing down in moments. Protecting it requires a completely different way of looking at risk.
And that's the perfect lead into our first section here, surviving in a risky world. Because let's be honest, the world we're all operating in today is just fundamentally different than it was even a few years ago.
For a long time, risk management was all about the stuff we could see coming. Operational glitches, swings in the financial market. Those are the known risks over on the left. But today's world, it's defined by the right side of this slide. Those emerging risks and the infamous black swans. These are the things that seem to come out of nowhere, have a massive impact, and just change the entire game overnight. If your strategy only prepares for the known, well, you're pretty much guaranteed to get blindsided.
So the big question is, how do you even begin to prepare for the unpredictable? Well, that's exactly where a structured ERM process comes into play. Let's get into our next section and talk about how to lay that foundation. And look, this isn't about guesswork or crossing your fingers, it's about building a truly resilient organization from the ground up. The process really breaks down into 4 clear foundational steps. First up, you have to map your current governance. Who's actually responsible for what right now? Second, and this one is absolutely crucial, you appoint a dedicated risk executive. Third, you got to consciously define what your risk culture is. And then fourth, you build a practical roadmap to make it all happen.
Let's just double-click on that second step for a second, because this is a real game changer. An advanced ERM process can't just be some side project for a junior committee. No way. It needs a champion, a dedicated risk executive, sitting at the board level. This isn't just a fancy title. It's a powerful signal from the very top that risk is a core part of the strategic conversation, not an afterthought.
And that leads us right into culture. What even is a risk culture? Well, you can think of it as the DNA of your organization. It's the collective attitude, the shared vibe around risk. Is risk something you fear and try to avoid at all costs? Or is it something you try to understand, manage, and maybe even use to your advantage? A strong risk culture gets everyone from the newest hire to the CEO thinking about and managing risk in their own work.
Okay, so our foundation is poured. We've got the leadership and the culture in mind. Now we actually need the tools to build the rest of the house. So in this next section, we're going to look inside the risk management toolkit. One of the biggest challenges with risks like reputation or those black swan events is that they just feel, unmeasurable. They feel vague. But a key part of modern ERM is using very specific, structured techniques to bring some real clarity to all that uncertainty and analyze these complex threats.
And here are just a few of those heavy-hitting tools. First, you've got something called Delphi analysis. Just think of it like systematically polling a panel of experts to get their collective wisdom on what's coming down the pike. Then there's FMEA, which is kind of like doing a pre-mortem for a process. You go through every single step and ask, how could this fail? And if it did, how bad would it be? And for really complex stuff, you can use a Monte Carlo analysis, which is basically a computer simulation that runs thousands of what-if scenarios to show you the most probable outcomes. The whole point is that these tools let us move past gut feelings and start making real, data-driven decisions about the unknown.
Now, once you start using tools like these, you move beyond just basic management. You're on the path to mastery. So let's explore what that actually looks like in our 4th section. This slide really says it all, doesn't it? The old school approach on the left is reactive. It's all about waiting for something to break and then fixing it. It's siloed, where the finance people don't talk to the ops people. And frankly, that's just a recipe for disaster in today's world. Advanced ERM on the right is the total opposite. It's proactive, it's integrated across the entire business, and it's driven by that strong risk culture we talked about. It's a completely different mindset.
So what does this mastery look like day to day? Well, it means you're adopting global best practices like the ISO 3100 framework. It means risk management isn't just a report that gets filed away.
It's right there at the table during critical decision-making. It means your people feel energized and empowered to handle risk. And it means you're coordinating everything, your audits, your insurance, your security, into one smart, cohesive strategy.
And that brings us to our final and, I think, most exciting section. This is where we flip the whole conversation on its head. We stop seeing risk as just a liability and start seeing it as a real strategic advantage. This quote just nails it. When you have a deep, genuine understanding of the entire landscape of risks and opportunities, you can make bolder, smarter moves than your competition. You can navigate the chaos with confidence. You can turn what looks like a pitfall into a new path for growth. And that, right there, is the ultimate goal of a world-class ERM program. And so that really leaves us with one final thought, a question for you. Take a hard look at your own organization. Is its success the result of a deliberate, resilient design that's built to handle uncertainty? Or has it just been lucky so far? Because in a world full of black swans, eventually luck runs out.